Hey, this is Lotus Head here. Finally decided what my first blog should ever be about, video blog. And that's a friend I knew from middle school named Chris Allen. He was 1 year older than me, and my experience in middle school was pretty traumatic. I didn't know how to fit in at all. The seeds were laid in 5th and 6th grade, where just, whatever comments people make made me just feel like I wasn't part of them. I was okay with the friends that I had, and I definitely had fun. I remember having a lot of fun in school, but the social thing I didn't get at all. And in 7th grade, I think there was somebody else that was in the class that was just talking and disrupting the class and stuff. And I kind of wanted to learn. And I think I once made a comment like, "Hey, why don't you be quiet?" Or "Why don't you shut up?" or something. I didn't curse at the time, so I know that wasn't part of it, but like, "Why don't you just be quiet?" And that person responded with some insults, and those insults spread throughout the school, as far as my perception was. And people call me Buck Rogers because I had an overbite. I don't know what you're talking about, but people don't need to have a reason to go along with the flow. I'm a nerd. I was a geek. I'm not ashamed of it, but I was under the impression that was like not the thing to be at the time, which probably continues to this day. But I remember being pretty ostracized in middle school. And then when I was in 8th grade, I took a typing class with actual typewriters. It's not like today, with keyboards and computers and cell phones and texting and stuff. And I wasn't the best at typing, but I did what I was told because I was a student, and I learned how to type without looking at my hands, because that's what we're told to try and do. And I did that, and I got my C- in the class, but I swear to God, I can type faster than any of those other people that got A's or B's or whatever. But one of the people in the class was this guy named Chris, who was a year older than me. And, at some point you get some downtime in the class, and you have conversations with other people. And even though he was a year older than me, which is big, like if you're an 8th grader and he's a 9th grader, my middle school was 7th, 8th, and 9th, and high school was 10th, 11th, and 12th, for perspective. And apparently we both owned Commodore 64 computers. And he was talking to me about this or that or whatever, and he's like a big bad 9th grader, and I'm a lowly 8th grader, a complete nothing in school. But he treated me like a person. And I always knew I was a person because I am who I am. I did have my friends, but those friends weren't always say in my class. So I'm like a loner, and I had no idea how to meet people. No confidence whatsoever. And it's like, you say, hey, we should go hang out and do stuff or whatever, and play video games and go to the park and play tag and all the kind of awesome stuff that happens in 8th grade, at least in the middle 80s. And through him, I met other people like John Cashman and there's like a culture of people that had computers in those days, and we played video games, and it was fun, and those video games taught us a lot of valuable life skills or school skills, like how to do math, how to do problem solving, how to read words that we didn't understand but try to figure out what they do, depending on the context and things like that. And anyways, he was a really good friend of mine, and he lived way across town from where I lived. I just live in a little suburban town, Vacaville. But to go to his house, it was like 6 miles away, and I'd ride it on my bike. Sometimes I'd put my whole computer and all my discs in my backpack and rode a bike all the way across town. And we had a blast. And then, like I said, he was a year older than me, so he graduated from high school and did what he did. And this is before cell phones, so you just couldn't keep track of people like you can now, where you instantly know everything that everybody does. And at some point he moved to Southern California in Yucaipa, where his parents lived. And I went off to do college stuff. I planned on being an engineer, but said I'd rather be a math teacher, due to my other friend Eric's suggestion. And anyways, when I graduated from high school, it's like he was a dropout. I think he switched schools in high school to go to a different school than I would have gone to, because he got persecuted in middle school as well, or high school. And I think he was a dropout, but I'm not sure because I didn't really understand that, because I was a student. I passed all my classes, But when I was getting ready to graduate from high school in 1990, he made it a point to drive from Southern California, bus his way, from Southern California to NorCal, where I live, because he's so happy that he graduated 12 hours earlier than I did. Or maybe it was a day, I don't know. And it's like, he was a nerd geek. I didn't really understand what that word really meant, because we all saw the movie Revenge of the Nerds, and it's like, I know I'm not that person or that person or that person, but they call me nerd. And it's like, sure, I'm not part of sports. At the time, I don't know how to play a musical instrument. I don't know how to write poetry. I don't know how to draw. I'm not part of the drama club. I'm not part of any clique. Just I show up. I learn what I'm supposed to in school. I go home. I play with my computer. I read books, like The Hobbit and things like that, and Dune and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I had a blast. Anyways, it's like his group of friends were the metalheads, the headbangers, or stoners. And out of all the various cliques at the school, I didn't know it, but I found out that the metalheads, the stoners, they're at the low end of the rung. It's like, that's like the bottom. But that was okay with them, because, they had each other. And in 11th grade is when I finally got into like metal music, mostly Headbangers Ball from MTV wouldn't play Def Leppard videos, which is what I liked, except on Headbangers Ball. So I'd have to watch Headbangers Ball to watch Def Leppard videos, because I like Def Leppard. And then I got exposed to Guns N' Roses and Metallica and Suicidal Tendencies and Megadeth and just all this crazy stuff. And Headbangers, all they care about is, are you cool, and do you at least like Metallica? So they accept everybody, even geeks, even smart geeks who at the time didn't curse, didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't swear. And I got to see a different side of a different side of life compared to what I was used to. Because me and my friends, we had lots of fun. We got in lots of trouble, but it wasn't, drinking or smoking or criminal stuff. It's like, riding our dirt bikes around town and playing in the creek and just exploring and playing with computers and stuff like that.
Oh my God.
Dungeons and Dragons. I'm there. They were there. It's, that's geek stuff. Anyways, Chris drove to my high school graduation to be there for me. And that was really important because somebody cared about me enough to make sure that they graduated before I did. Because I was a serious student. I'm not an A student, I was a B student, so I could just do it, And anyways, we went our separate ways just because this is, before cell phones. We went back down south, and I went back to college, and at some point I had a job working at the comic book store at a mall. I somehow fell into this job by being who I am, and I don't know anything about comics, but I played Magic the Gathering, and I was a role player, Dungeons & Dragons, Shadowrun, that kind of stuff. And because I worked in a very public place, the mall, at a comic book store at the mall, who wouldn't want to walk into a comic book store? So, even though I stayed in the Vacaville area throughout my whole life, everybody else moved away. But whoever did come back, they'd end up at the mall, and they walk through it, and they'd see the comic book store. You gotta walk in there, and there's me. And so I was able to keep in touch with a lot of people. And the last phone conversation I had with Chris was, he called me up. This is before cell phones, so you got to call the actual house landline. And I'm like, hey, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm going to take classes to be a firefighter, and I got a job at Burger King, and I ride my bike there, and doing this and that. Doing what you do to get by. And he's like, hey, do you know Eric Quartermouse? Eric Katernas was somebody that I went to college with. I think Eric might have been a year younger than me, but it's like college, so you're just like, post high school people. But Quartermouse. I'm like, yeah, I know him. So, hey, when you see him, tell him, hey, what's up? From Chris Allen. Because I work at the comic book store. People, show up. So, a year or two later, Eric Quartermouse comes into place. I'm like, hey, Eric, what's up? I got a message from you from Chris Allen. He's all, okay. No, he says, hey, what's up? He goes, dude, I just heard from his sister that he died, like, last week or the week before. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He's gone. I don't know what happened, but the autopsy hasn't been done yet. I'm like, what? It's like, we didn't have cell phones, so you can't just, like, instantly find out what's going on. This would have been 95, 96, somewhere around there. And, that was my first message from the dead, kind of cool. But he's the only person, or at the time, the only person I knew that died. Except for, like, Grandma, who was old, and Grandpa, who was old, and other Grandma, or other Grandpa, But what Chris Allen represented to me was somebody who treated me like a person without dealing with the whole superficial bullshit that goes out there. And he invited me into his world, let me learn what I could, shared with me fun stuff, Doctor Who, playing tag at the park, things like that. And I know it must have taken a lot to transfer from one high school to the next, because of whatever miserable experience that he had. I had no idea about that because I had a miserable experience. I didn't dwell on it. I just took what I could get, kept my mouth shut, things like that. And I miss him a lot. His parents live in Yucaipa in Southern California, which is very close to Riverside, where I have a lot of friends. And once I drove down to Riverside and thought, hey, I've got money in my pocket. I'm going to buy a map and find out where Yucaipa is and find his parents and tell him what I thought of Chris. It didn't work because Alan is a very common name, and I have no idea what his parents were called. I've seen them. I think his sister's name was Patty, but she might have gotten married. I don't know. She was just whoever she was. But yeah, I really miss Chris. Later, I found out that he'd fallen into drugs, which happens, and it might have been speed or heroin. I'm not really sure. Nobody up here in Northern California knows, but we're pretty sure that he OD'd as opposed to got shot or something. But again, I don't really know. But he's gone. But he treated me like a person. I treated him like a person, and I found the value in that. And I miss you, Chris. This is my first blog.